As the progressives destroy America, will Americans continue to stand by and do nothing? What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, October the 23rd, as the year is rapidly coming to an end. And, of course, we have an election in a couple of weeks. And the question is will Americans stand by and continue to do nothing as the progressives, President Biden, and the rest continue their destruction of America? Okay. You know, remember the Superman commercial or the Superman preview, Truth, Justice, and the American Way? Well, we've gotten far away from truth, from justice, and from the American way. So for those of you who are going to say that I don't love this country, I do love this country, but I want to know why we aren't better. Okay, I want to know why my ancestors, my father, my father-in-law, and their parents who fought for this country, okay, their dreams of what this country would be are being dissolved by the progressives that are in office, by the squad, and by, of course, the imbecile that is President of the United States. Okay, I think that we have a problem here. If you remember the saying, Houston, we have a problem. Well, America, we have a problem because we continue to ignore the very simple facts that are right in front of us. And interestingly enough, as we approach the November 8th election, you have food prices that are skyrocketing, although not at the wholesale level. Okay, grains have been suppressed here. Oil has been a little bit suppressed here. And the real question is there some hanky-panky going on with this economy trying to keep prices within reason until after the election? Is the current administration trying to buy an election? Okay. Because, of course, unfortunately, many Americans, if not most, pay no attention. And what they really look at is their money, their costs, and what's going on, and ignore the facts of where we've been the last 2 years. And again, the last 2 years, we have seen the price of a gallon of gas go from somewhere, let's say around 2, but below in a lot of places, to over 5. Okay, which is over a 200% increase. Okay, we've seen the cost of food continue to rise, and at the same time, we have seen wages continue to fall. Okay, I mean, we see the taxpayer bait and switch. Okay, as President Biden continues to go for this student loan forgiveness, which first of all is unconstitutional. Second of all, he doesn't have the power to do so. And third of all, is really an election play. Okay. But of course, it would benefit the wealthy as well as the poor. Okay. Once again, the people that would be footing the bill for all this bullshit would be the middle class, which is continued under pressure to be destroyed. Okay. As we look into the housing market, existing home sales decline for the 8th month in a row. Okay, and you think it's going to get better anytime soon? Look at interest rates. You now have gone to the point where people cannot afford the home. You know, they can't afford to move. Now again, it's more, housing has become more of a shell game and more of a money game. Okay, that is one of the bigger problems that we have created with a Federal Reserve that is totally clueless, which has been the case. And as you know, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know that's been my stance forever. But, you know, especially since they bailed out the banks in 2008. It's a wonderful business model when you can lend out money that you didn't have at a rate of 10 to 1, okay, of money that you actually borrowed from the Federal Reserve, knowing that you can make enormous profits if things are well, and of course you'll get bailed out by the Federal Reserve if they're not. Now, again, you may like that, but remember, once again, the government didn't pay for the bailout of 2008. The American taxpayer paid for the bailout. We get the privilege of paying for the bailout, okay? And you have interest rates on the rise, okay? The 10-year is now over 4%. The yield curve is in total inversion, and it's interesting enough, the 1-year is higher interest rates than the 30-year, which is totally backwards, but of course, very bad for the economy, okay? But you've got, a mortgage rate shock, and of course, some places you are building homes, you have to be able to qualify for a 7.5% to 8% mortgage. But when does anybody remember an 8% mortgage? Now, obviously, I remember. My first mortgage was about 18%. But again, we are seeing the dismantling of this country, okay, basically being done, in my opinion, on purpose, okay, because of the party in power, especially the progressives who hate this country and want to destroy this country, and many others, which I won't name names, okay, but I'm sure you can imagine who they are, that are behind. Somebody is financially backing all of this crime and all of these riots and everything that you're seeing going on as we continue to let the flood of illegal immigration. And of course, it has come out subsequently since the stabbing in Las Vegas of a couple of weeks ago that the murderer, the killer, the stabber was an illegal alien, and a convicted illegal alien, a felon. Okay, but of course, we have had 100% participation of the left of voting not to send illegal immigrants with a record back to where they came from. Now, again, they should not be letting any in illegally. They should have to come in through the natural chain and the way that we are supposed to come in, as my grandparents did through Ellis Island. Okay, but if you're going to allow them in, how can you allow the felons, the convicted felons, the murderers, the killers, the druggers, to stay here? We're coming up upon Halloween, and of course now there's warnings, for your children that there could be fentanyl mixed in some of the candy. Okay, this is a major problem. Okay, and you have President Biden crying about oil, accusing the oil companies of price gouging. Well, certainly, President Biden, we could lower the cost of oil. If you don't want to drill here, we could still lower the cost of oil if we took care of the state and federal tax that is on a gallon of oil. I mean, in many states, it's as high as 20 or 25%. So why don't we stop taxing, and you could immediately bring the prices down? The oil companies, and I'm not defending big corporations, but they are working on a free market society, which apparently you don't want. Okay, and we'll get more about that. We'll talk more about that in my commentary. But of course, the party in power with their climate change and green agenda. Now, again, I don't believe in climate change. But again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not telling you that I am right. But I am telling you is that, hey, you want to get to a green environment, no problem. But I would love for the administration, whoever that happens to be, to give me a plan of how much it's going to cost and when are we going to get there. And until we get there, continue to use the natural resources that we have here, okay, to bring down inflation, bring down the cost of goods and services, allow Americans to live a normal life. okay, instead of having more outflow than inflow, because of course wages have dropped for the last 18 months. Real wages continue to drop. Okay, that kind of coincides with this president as well. Now, again, as you know, or maybe you don't know, I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am a libertarian. Okay, I am in the middle. I believe in, again, but I do believe that everybody should care about fiscal conservatives. I think that everybody should be worried about the money as we continue to see a massive outflow of capital, okay, which is really just another way of creating a tax to the middle class, which again goes back to, as they call it, inflation or taxation without representation. Okay, I think that this has been a constant problem that we have been observing, and we have to make it stop. Again, we cannot continue to give out and give our control to every one of our adversaries, enemies, whatever you want to call them. You may call them allies. I don't. I don't call Saudi Arabia or China an ally. I call them an enemy. Okay, and I think that when you're not using your own natural resources at the cost of destroying a nation, which is exactly what they're doing, and it appears that is their plan, and now it looks like the Federal Reserve is involved with them, because we saw on Friday where there's some talk about what they're going to do at the November meeting, which is right before the election, and it would not surprise me, okay, if they did something that right before the election, okay, that was more beneficial to the party in power. The Federal Reserve, which is supposed to be a private organization, it is a private banks. It could be becoming much more political, and of course they can potentially make an impact. Now I hope that Americans are not that dumb that they fall for, if you remember Beverly Hills Cop, the banana in the tailpipe trick. In other words, I hope we're not dumb enough to fall for an improvement just for a couple of weeks before an election. Again, I think that we have too many problems to be dealt with, and we have to do something to save our country from total destruction, because, of course, the current path that we're on is really to end the freedom of the middle class. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, October 20th or 3rd. Todd and Bubba Horowitz with you. We're going to stop out here for a break, and we're going to come back with our market report right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. We'll be right back. Well, kids, it's great to be with you as always, and of course, our sports have been doing well. In the meantime, as you know, we have sponsors for the show, and of course, they're scrolling on the side, and our high school programs on the bottom. And but again, I want to remind you that our Trader brokerage, our equity and options broker. And again, I have other brokers, but our main partner, Trader, who is sponsoring our event when we go to Circa in Vegas for our December training, and of course that will be live streamed as well. If you have an account with them or open an account with them, you will save $500. It'll be $997 instead of $1497 to come in person. And of course, it'll be $500 instead of $1,000 for the live stream. But it is the best event for learning how to trade, learning about markets that you'll ever have a chance to go to. This will be our 10th year of what we call Bubba Palooza. And of course, Trader's got many other benefits, and one including that they can auto trade your account at no charge. Okay, it's $10 a month for commission. So check them out, try.trader.com/Bubba. That's try.trader.com/Bubba. And of course, Capital Trading Group, CTG, our commodities and futures broker, by far the best in the business from futures to commodities. In fact, obviously, they're the only ones I allow to do our letter of direction trading. They're the only ones I've partnered up in, like on Day Trader's Dream. and they've got the greatest customer service. Check them out, info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. That's info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. And of course, our high school program, which is unbelievably impossible to get back into the high schools because, of course, they don't want to teach anymore because they're a part of the new society of destroying our country. But hopefully we'll get ourselves back in there, and it's patreon.com/Bubba Trading, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Now let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with, of course, our market report. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, October the 23rd. Football today, baseball today, and well, we got lots of stuff to do. But in the meantime, okay, markets, well, they had a nice little rally last week. Okay, they had a big rally early, and by the time we got to Friday, it looked like there was a decision. The markets could either go back and make new lows for the week or break out, and of course they broke out in a big way on Friday. One of the big problems I'm seeing here is the lack of true liquidity. I think this is one of the reasons we're seeing some of these wild swings back and forth. The participation is down. The attempt to control markets is up. I think if you look around, I think you're seeing some pressure on grain markets, which shouldn't be there considering that we're going to have a food shortage. I think that the pressure on oil recently, we don't have enough oil, and we're still continuing to drain the SPR. So I think that, again, I think you're seeing some intentional suppression on some prices, which is being orchestrated by this administration in order to fool you into believing that things are getting better. Okay. But, again, you have to make that decision. You know my words to all of you is always this. Get off your ass and go vote. Whoever you vote for, I can't tell you to vote for. But whoever you vote for, get off your ass and go vote. Okay. In the meantime, for the week, the market, the Dow, the S&P, the Russell, and the NASDAQ rallied big. Okay. They were sharply higher, and it looked like they are attempting to break out. In fact, tonight or tomorrow, depending on how you trade, we will be reversing the Dow future, which we have said all along and remained all along that it was the strongest of the group. Okay, so not a real surprise. But when we look across the board, the dollar is still strong. Okay, now there's a lot that are trying to make a case that the dollar is putting pressure on a lot of the commodities, and because commodities are benchmarked U.S. dollar, it could be possible. But I think that I don't ever agree with the dollar because, again, direct correlations on any given period of time. Markets have a very good way of pricing in and accounting for things. So in the meantime, the dollar is still higher, and we're still long dollars. The euro currency is, it had a little bit of a move up, but again, it's at 98 cents, on its way to 88 cents, and probably lower. Europe is in huge trouble. There's a major depression coming there, not to mention the fuel shortage and the heat shortage, and it's going to be a cold winter in the UK and in Germany. Okay. And of course, Bitcoin is like flat. It's like getting ready to do something. It goes nowhere. It goes sideways, and it's been sideways for a couple of months now. We're still short it. The bonds and notes got clobbered. Okay, again, hence the interest rates are flying higher. Okay, and again, you can't stop that. Okay, the Fed can do all they want. Now, we've never seen a Federal Reserve that raises rates into a recession. And if you want to believe the new definition of recession, which they changed, okay, but if you want to believe that, okay, I say bullshit. But here, all you gotta do is look in your own bank account. That's how you tell if you're in a recession. Look in your own bank account, okay. But the bond notes are going a lot lower. Interest rates are going a lot higher. I would bet the 10-year gets to close to 6% before the year's over. Okay, and that'll take a lot of money out of markets and put it in. I mean, listen, what retiree wouldn't like to get 6% on their money? Okay, I mean, I've got some CDs now that are 4.25% for 3 months. So, in the meantime, gold and silver are kind of sloppy. We're back to short both gold and silver. Again, look, as you know, I'm a believer in gold and silver. I buy physical all the time. But from a trading standpoint, the price action is still negative and we're still short. Okay. One thing has nothing to do with the other. Platinum, again, I love platinum, but again, we don't trade it anymore because it's not liquid enough. Copper, again, we have reversed copper back to short, and I don't see a lot of excitement. Yeah, copper had a little bit of a move towards the upside, but I don't see a lot of reason to believe that it's going much higher. Okay, because again, it's a good that's for building new homes, buildings, and I don't see a lot of new construction. New construction in trouble. I see problems everywhere. I would assume we're going to see lower prices coming. The natural gas continues to get pummeled. Okay, and now we are past that point in the economy where I'm worried about natural gas. Okay, again, there's always certain points of time of the year when I'm not a big fan of being shorted. Well, now I'm a big fan because it looks like it wants to go a hell of a lot lower. It's under $5 right now. Okay, and heading lower. Crude oil is again at $85. I mean, it's going back to the new highs. Okay, but again, you've got some funny business going on, and we're shorted. Okay, but I do think it's going to new highs eventually. In the meantime, in the grain markets, they're kind of choppy and flat. We're long corn, we're short wheat, we're short soybeans. Okay, now again, I believe the grain complex. I believe there's going to be a huge commodity bull market. That's what I believe. Okay, now again, it doesn't mean it's today, and it doesn't mean it's going to be right now. And we'll have plenty of time to get in as trend traders. But I do see a big boom in commodities, and of course, in the meats, live cattle is getting to ridiculously high prices. It's interesting. Continues to push forward to new highs. I mean, it's new recent highs, obviously, but it's only 15% from the all-time high. Feeder cattle has been flat to a little bit lower, and I think they're kind of in a range bound. We're short both fat and feeder cattle, and hogs are pushing up towards 90 in December. And look, we're long, but I would think that this is probably near the upper limit. I don't expect to see a lot of price action or volatility in the meats. I think they'll churn based on what the cost of oil is. And of course, in the softs, cocoa is lower, we're short. Sugar was higher, we're long. OJ continues to explode. I don't know why we're playing Florida, but okay. We're still long. Coffee's getting crushed and we're still short. And cotton is under a lot of pressure. It's under 80 and we're still short. So you can see that the market action is, kind of blasé. And again, I think because of some of the suppression, some of the ability of the administration to try to put some pressure here and there. Okay, and remember, if you're trying in thin markets that are not very liquid, if you know what you're buying, okay, you can trigger bigger moves than are really there. So we'll see. Again, I'm not accusing anybody, but in my mind, what's going on is more some hanky panky in the administration that is trying to keep things afloat for just the next 2 weeks, and we'll see how it all plays out. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, October the 23rd. We're going to step out here for a break and come back with our commentary and, of course, our football picks for the day. Well, kids, again, I'm not going to go through all the details of our sponsors because they're on the sides and then on the bottom. But, Trader Brokerage, listen, they're sponsoring our Vegas event. It's going to be it's the best training you'll ever get, okay? Again, ask anybody who's ever been. In fact, most come over and over again because it's such a phenomenal event. But you save $500 if you have an account with Trader or you open one with them. Okay, and that's try.trader.com/Bubba. And of course, Capital Trading Group, by far the best in the futures and commodity space. Okay, and again, for those of you who trade futures and commodities and stocks and options, don't try to trade them through your equity broker. Equity brokers offer futures as an accommodation. They do not do a good job with them. So just keep that in mind. Okay. And of course, our high school program, check it out. See if you want to help us out. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with my commentary and, of course, my football selections. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, October the 23rd. And, of course, every week I give you a little bit of commentary. And, I'm really distressed at what's going on in this country. And I'm sick and tired of people telling me that America is the greatest country. I do know that America is the greatest country, but what was America built on? How did we become the United States of America? Okay, it wasn't socialism. It wasn't government spending. It was good old-fashioned capitalism. Okay, and it wasn't government meddling into the affairs of oil companies, telling them that they're price gouging when governments are charging 25 or 30% taxes above the price. Okay, it wasn't limiting. It wasn't doing anything but letting the free markets take place. And unfortunately, as we have watched the dismantling of a lot of the free market system with government, and if you remember this very important fact: government and the Federal Reserve create nothing but debt. They create no product, they create no money, they create debt, which you, the American taxpayer, pay for. Now, if you like paying for their bullshit and for their stealing and for everything that they do, well, by all means, keep voting these jackasses in. But if you really want to do something, we have to get change. We need term limits. We need a whole bunch of things. But in the meantime, we've got to get off what we've got. We got to get off this merry-go-round we are on right now, which is stripping Americans of freedom and their cash. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. And for football, tonight, okay, today and tonight, okay, we like two games, okay? We like the Miami Dolphins tonight, okay, believe it or not. Tua Tagovailoa coming back, laying 7.5 against Pittsburgh. And believe it or not, with the Christian McCaffrey trade to San Francisco, we now like Kansas City. So we like two favorites, one small, one bigger. Kansas City, Miami. Have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you for tuning in. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, October 23rd, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you tomorrow with Bubba's Day Update.